Hello champions, Malcolm here. I've got a message for you guys, and this message comes from a meeting that my wife and I had last night, a consultation so to speak, and we were talking about just confidence and work habit and things like that. And if any of you have ever read the book Love and Respect, it's a great relationship book. I would highly recommend it to anybody out there who's either A, struggling in a marriage or a relationship, or B, is doing well but wants to maintain that good standing and that successful relationship, because there are some really significant keys in that book. But anyway, what they talk about in the book is something he calls the crazy cycle. And so us men, one of our primary needs in a relationship is to feel respected. And ladies, he talks about the primary need for the ladies is to feel loved. And what happens is if we don't act in a loving way towards our wife, our spouse, then what happens is she doesn't act in a respectful way toward us. And when we don't feel respected, we don't act loving. And so we don't act loving, they don't act respecting, and it's this downward perpetual cycle, okay? But the inverse is also true. So if we act in a loving manner, then she's more likely to act respectful to us. And then when we feel respected, we act more loving, and it's a upward perpetuating cycle, okay? So this was totally unrelated to relationships, but it's a similar cycle, and I'm calling it the lazy cycle, okay? And so what happens is there's this myth in our world today that motivation is the spark to get you going. Motivation is the key. So if you want to embark on a fitness journey, that you're going to be motivated to do that, and every day you're going to be fueled with this motivation, and that's what's going to get you going. And it's not always true. Motivation can get you going, but discipline keeps you going, okay? So here's the thing about it though. If you're waiting on motivation, you might be motivated one day, and the next day you're not motivated at all. So what are you going to do? Are you going to not go because you don't have the motivation? Or kind of a different scenario is, imagine somebody who hasn't been to the gym in a couple years, maybe 6 years, and they're 120 pounds overweight. And just the act of going to the gym is a very intimidating concept to them. They think about, okay, there's a bunch of meatheads at the gym, or people that look really good physically, so not only will I look like an idiot, but I don't know how to use the machines, and so I'll look like an idiot because I don't know how to use the machines, and what if I hurt myself? All this negative self-talk. They're not motivated to go to the gym. They might be motivated to lose weight. But here's the thing is two things. One, action is the spark. You have to force yourself into action. So that person that's terrified to go to the gym, they force themselves into action, maybe for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, okay? And that action, and here's the other problem with most scenarios in life, especially if you're an entrepreneur or in the fitness world, that sort of thing, is there's no guaranteed results after a certain level of action. Like, hey, if you go to the gym 5 times, you're going to lose 3 pounds. There's no set formula for exactly how it works, because everybody's different. Everybody has different natural abilities. Everybody has different genetics, things like that. So there's not a specific formula. But no matter what, there's a certain level of action for each and every individual that's going to create results. So going back to our person that's 120 pounds overweight, say they go to the gym for 4 weeks straight without ever stepping on the scale, and then 4 weeks later they step on their bathroom scale to kind of assess, okay, how much progress have I made, and they've lost 8 to 10 pounds. Okay, what happens then? They see the results from the action, and those results spark more motivation. They hit the ground that next day, or maybe that day on the way to the gym is, that morning is that when they stepped on the scale. So that day when they hit the gym, they've got a renewed sense of energy, probably more energy than they had at any previous gym experience over the last 4 weeks, and a renewed level of vigor. Like, they hit those machines hard, and they're fired up because they lost 10 pounds, and it's the level of motivation rises. So there's 2 things that happen there. One is obviously results improve motivation. So you force yourself into action, the action creates results, and the results fuel more motivation, which again, in turn, fuels more action. Okay, and those actions fuel more results, and this it's this perpetuating cycle. But there's another thing to that cycle, okay? When you force yourself into action, you're acting in a way that's congruent with a version of your future self, okay? And that builds self-confidence. If you act consistently congruently with the version of yourself that you want to be, you eventually become that, okay? Again, there's not a specific time frame or formula for how many times you have to do that before it happens, but it will happen. And the inverse is also true. Okay, if you're waiting for motivation to go do something that you know you should do, but you don't do it because you're not motivated, that undercuts your self-esteem. You're exercising your procrastination muscle, you're exercising your quitting muscle, you're exercising your fail muscle, and therefore that gets stronger, so it makes it harder the next time to get up and get out and go do whatever it is you're going to do, whether it's make that sales call, whether it's get to the gym, whether it's meet that new prospect, whatever it is. Okay, and that's that perpetuating cycle. But here's the other thing: when you don't do that, when you don't act in accordance with the future self that you want to become, every single time you do that, you undercut your self-esteem. It's a blow to your self-esteem, and so you reduce your level of self-esteem, your trust in yourself, and that in turn decreases the likelihood of your future action, and it's a self-perpetuating negative cycle going downhill into depression, into failure, into bad relationships, everything. It manifests itself in every aspect of your life. But again, the more congruent you act in towards the person that you want to become, the more that action, that the action that's congruent with the future self, that improves your self-esteem. Because none of us want to look to the future. None of us look to the future and think, okay, I want to be more depressed. I want to be more lazy. I want to be more of a procrastinator. We all see this future version of ourselves as better than we are today. So we're acting congruent with that. And then the results are going to improve our confidence as well. You think about, again, going back to the person that lost the weight, they see 10 pounds lighter, they see their clothes fitting looser, they see a little more definition in certain areas of their body, they're fired up. Their confidence is going through the roof. And the more those results come, the more confident they become, and also the more they act congruently with that person that they want to be, the more that builds their self-confidence as well. So we have the crazy cycle in the relationships, and we have the lazy cycle in our everyday life. And if you want to improve, you have to conquer that lazy cycle. You have to be on the upward swing of that, where you don't procrastinate, you act according to the person that you want to become on a consistent basis, and you act and act and act and act and act until you get the results that you want. And then those results are going to fuel more motivation for more action, and it's a self-perpetuating cycle. So guys, as I always say, as I always close my videos with, think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and go accomplish masterfully. Go build the life of your dreams. Go be an entrepreneur. Go do what it takes to build your future, and take responsibility for it. It is nobody else's responsibility but your own to build the future that you want to create. So again, guys, have an awesome day, have an awesome new year, and we will talk soon.